Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Lekutey Maharan share. It's been a few weeks since our last class. As always, I'm Rabbi Shaya Sussman. If you're looking for more classes, you can go to breslov.org or you can go to my SoundCloud at Nach Daily or Shaya Sussman. You can find many classes. In What Does Rabbi Nachman Actually Say? For those of you who are just joining us on the class tonight, this is a text-based class where we explore the writings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, the great Hasidic leader. Tonight, we're going to be starting lesson 66 in the Sefer Lekutey Maharan. As this is a text-based class, I have the screen shares for everybody. And we're going to begin this lesson. Maybe we'll do the next 2-3 weeks learning this inside. And I'll just introduce it. The reason why I wanted to learn this with everybody is because it has to do with how the Tzaddik dies. What happens to a tzaddik when he dies, how he dies, what is the process of dying for a tzaddik, and what are the added benefits to us when we connect to a tzaddik. So this is also, by way, a introduction to Lag BaOmer. As Lag BaOmer, for those of you who don't know and are just joining us, Lag BaOmer is the day that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, the secret writings of the Torah, is the day that he passed away. During this time period of the Sfiras HaOmer that we're in is the 33rd day, known as Lag BaOmer, which is considered a great celebration. So I figured, what better time to start this lesson to learn about what the tzaddik can do for you and what happens when the tzaddik passes away than right around now in Lag BaOmer. And it's really an amazing thing. And obviously, as we're talking about Lag BaOmer, when it was the Histalkus, it was the day of passing of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, anyone who's been following these classes and listening and enjoying, so anyone who's been following these classes, they're obviously connected, because if you're connected to Rabbi Nachman, you're connected to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, as Rabbi Nachman ben Simcha and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai are the same gematria, have the same numerical value. So there's obviously a very, very deep connection between the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Hello, Eli. Thanks for joining. And there's a deep connection. So when Lag BaOmer is coming up, have nothing to fear. You're already connected to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai by way of Rabbi Nachman. So we're going to jump right in and do the screen shares. This one, before we actually go to the text, I just wanted to read the first pasuk, the first verse inside. And then I wanted to actually see that chapter inside because it's amazing. We'll be able to appreciate it a lot more and see really the chiddush, the novelty idea that's being brought over here. So we're just going to do the quick screen share, and then we're going to do another screen share and actually learn that chapter inside. Okay. So hold on. Let's see. Okay, again, lesson number 66 in the Lekutey Maharan. So it starts with the words of V'yihi na pishnayim b'ruchachacha Eli. This is a back and forth between Eliyahu Hanavi and Elisha Hanavi, and we're going to see them back. We're going to see this more inside. I'm just starting with what it says here in the text. V'yihi na pishnayim b'ruchachacha Eli. Eliyahu says to Elisha, if you're there, that the time when I die, you will get double of my ruach, of my spirit, of my portion. Vayomer, and he said, Im tira osi lukach me'itcha yehi lechachen. But if you, and Eliyahu continued, if you see me at the time when I die, then you'll get your request. Okay, so now I'm just going to flip inside, and we're going to learn this chapter inside, and then we're going to read through it quickly so you could get the context of the story here, and then we're going to jump back into Sefer Lekutey Maharan. So I'm just going to read this parak inside. It's an amazing parak. This is the parak that when Eliyahu Hanavi goes up to Shemayim. What?
So make it bigger.
Make it bigger? Okay. Let's see. Is that better? Is that bigger? Good? Good. Okay. Vayhi balos Hashem es Eliyahu b'tzara Shemayim v'yelech Eliyahu v'Elisha min ha'Gilgal. It was at the time when Eliyahu, the Navi, Eliyahu would go up in a fiery wind to heaven, that he was walking together with his student Elisha from the place of Gilgal. Vayomer Eliyahu Elisha. And So this is Malachim Beis, chapter Beis. That's Kings 2, chapter 2. Vayomer Eliyahu Elisha, Shev na po, ki Hashem sholchani ad Beis El. And Eliyahu says to Elisha, you stay here because Hashem is sending me to the town of Beis El. Vayomer Elisha, Chai Hashem v'chai nafshecha, im azvecha v'yerdu Beis El. He goes, nope, I swear on my life, I will not leave you. I'm going to go with you all the way down to the town of Beis El. Vayetzu b'nei neviim asher Beis El Elisha. And when they went to the town of Beis El, that those neviim, those prophets that were there, they went over to Elisha and said, Vayomer elav hayadati ki hayom Hashem lokech es adonecha ma'al roshecha, vayomer gam ani yadati. They said to Elisha, do you know today your master Eliyahu is going to be taken by God from upon your head? Meaning to say, don't you know that Eliyahu is going to die today? And Elisha says back, yes, I know, but be quiet. Vayomer lo Eliyahu Elisha, back to Eliyahu and Elisha, Shev na po ki Hashem sholchani Yericho. Once they're in Beis El, Eliyahu says, Elisha, you stay here because now I'm going to Yericho. Vayomer chai Hashem v'chai nafshecha, im azvecha v'yovu Yericho. He says, I swear on my life, I'm going to stay with you. I'm not going to leave with you. I'm going to travel with you to Yericho. Vayikshu b'nei neviim asher b'Yericho Elisha. And the Bnei Nevi'im, the sons of the Nevi'im, they were there in Yericho, and they went over to Elisha. Don't you know today Hashem is going to take Eliyahu from you? And Elisha says back, he goes, yes, I know, but be quiet. Right? This repeats itself. Right? And Eliyahu says to Elisha again, you stay here. Hashem is sending me to the Yarden. And Elisha said back, nope, I swear I'm not going to leave you. And both of them go together. And now there were 50 Nevi'im, 50 sons of the Nevi'im that were standing, watching from a distance, both Elisha and Eliyahu by the Yarden. Vayikach Eliyahu es adorato, and Eliyahu takes his cloak, vayiglom vayakes hamayim, and he rolled it up and he hit the water. Vayichatzeu hine v'hine vayavru shneim v'charava, and he did this miracle. He split the sea. It's amazing barak over here. And he took his cloak and he split the sea. And now Elisha and Eliyahu are standing together on dry land in the middle of the Yarden. Vayihike Avram v'Eliyahu, and it was as they were crossing, Eliyahu, Amar Elisha, they have this little back and forth dialogue over here, which is going to be the highlight of Rabbi Nachman's lesson right now. But Eliyahu, Amar, Elisha, Eliyahu said to Elisha, Sha'al ma aselecha, b'terem elkach me'imcha. So Eliyahu turns to his student Elisha, and he says, ask me what you want before I get taken from you. Vayomer Elisha, v'yihi na pi shnayim b'ruchachacha elai. And these are the focus words of our lesson in Lekutey Maharan. Elisha says, I want double of your ruach. I want double of your portion to be upon me. Okay? Vayomer, and Eliyahu says back, Hikishta l'sha'ol. That's a hard thing to do. Im tira osi lukach me'itcha yehilecha ken. If you're there when you see me get taken from you, then you'll get it. V'im ayin lo yeh. But if you're not there at the time when I get taken from you and I leave this world, then you won't get double portion of my spirit. And that's going to be the focus, this back and forth. Right? And these are this very famous psukim, famous story over here. And as both of them are going together, v'daber, and they're talking, v'hinei rechev eish v'susei eish, a fiery chariot with fiery horses come down, v'yafridu bein shneim, and separates Eliyahu and Elisha, v'ya'al Eliyahu b'tzara shemayim. And Eliyahu gets risen up in a fiery whirlwind to heavens. V'Elisha roa, and Elisha sees, v'hu metza'ek, and he screams out, Avi, Avi, Rechav Yisrael, Father, Father, the chariot of Israel, Uparsha, V'lo ro'u od. Right? And he didn't see him again. That's the last time Elisha saw Eliyahu. V'yechazek b'gadov, and Elisha grabbed his clothing, V'yikram with shnei krayim, and he sat shiva, he tore them into two pieces. Vayerem es aderes Eliyahu. And I get goosebumps reading this. It's just so amazing. We didn't even get to the lesson yet, but this is incredible, right? Vayerem es aderes Eliyahu. And he lifts up now Elisha, right? Elisha got taken, and now his cloak is sitting on the floor. And he picks up the aderes Eliyahu, the cloak of Eliyahu, asher nafla ma'alav, that had fallen off Eliyahu's back. Vayasha v'yamod al sfas hayarden. And he sat and he stood on the lips of the riverbanks of the Yarden. And he took Eliyahu's clothes, asher nafla ma'alav, that had fallen. Vayaka es hamayim. Right, the torch is now passed. He hits the water. Vayomer ayeh Hashem Elokei Eliyahu afhu vayaka es hamayim v'chatzu hine v'hine v'yavor Elisha. Right, and Eliyahu said, God, where's the God of Eliyahu? Elisha said, where's the God of Eliyahu? And he took and he hit the water, and now he split the water just like his Rebbe Eliyahu did. Vayiru b'nei Neviim asher b'Yericho. Now keep in mind, this was a whole scene. The b'nei Neviim, the children of Neviim, were standing there from afar watching this take place. Right, imagine you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Right, Vayiru b'nei Neviim asher b'Yericho, and the sons of the Neviim that were standing onlooking from Yericho mineged. Vayomru nach, and they all sat and stood. They said, Nacha ruach Eliyahu al Elisha. The spirit of Eliyahu had fallen upon Elisha. Vayavu likrosa v'ishtachavu la'arza. And they went to greet Elisha, and they all bowed before him. Vayomar elav hinena yesh es avdecha chamishim anashim. Okay, I'm gonna stop over here. Okay, incredible, right? So we have the famous story of Eliyahu and Elisha, which is going to be the highlight of our lesson, and we're going to get the amazing back and forth over here. So basically, they had this conversation that everyone knew Eliyahu was going to be taken, and what happened was as they're strolling in the middle of the Yarden, right? They have this dialogue, this very, very interesting dialogue. What's the dialogue? Eliyahu says to Elisha, "No, I'm going to be taken. Ask me for something." So Elisha says, "I want double of what you have." Eliyahu says back, that's a hard thing. Meaning to say, if you ask me for $2 and I only have $1, how can I give you more than I have? How can I give you more than I have? I want double of what you have. Well, it's a dever kasha. That's a hard thing, right? If you ask me for $200 and I give you $100, I can only give you 100. I can't give you double of what I have. If I don't have it, I can't give it to you. So Eliyahu says back, well, this is a hard thing, okay? There's a reason why we're going through these details already, because it's going to be great, right? This is a very hard thing. So Eliyahu says, but I'll tell you what. Yeah, it's a hard thing. But if you're there when I die, if you're there when I leave the world, you'll get it. But if not, you won't. Mysterious. What was this back and forth? What was going on? And what does it have to do with his death? And what does this have to do for us in 2021? Okay. Now we're going to jump into the Lekutey Maharan here. The stage is set. Okay. Vehina pishnai burchacha Eli. These are the psukim that we just read inside, the full story. Vayomer im tira osi lukach me'itcha yehi lechakein. If you're there when I'm taken from you, then it will be. V'neidis kaim acher kach be'Elisha pishnai. And after this, we know Elisha did receive a double portion. Nimsa Shaya Elisha mispala b'kavana yoser me'Eliyahu Rabbah. It comes out that Elisha, he davened harder than his Rebbe, Eliyahu. Because all the miracles and greatness that Elisha did, kulam al yedei tefillah. Elisha accomplished all his things that he did, all through the power of prayer. Kamosha Amru Rav Sinu Zechron L'Bracha, like Chazal say, the Gemara in Megillah, it says, Sapra nali eis kol gdulas asher asa Elisha, right? It says, tell me all the great things that Elisha did. So the Gemara says, Elisha ki avid b'tefillah ta'avid, right? It says all the things, the Gemara says over there, everything Elisha accomplished, all the miracles that Elisha accomplished, he did through the power of tefillah. So just to talk about this idea of Pishnayim, how do we know that Elisha received double of Eliyahu? Because if you will go through the story, I'm not going to go through it right now, but you will see that Eliyahu did 8 miracles and Elisha did 16 miracles. So it comes out that Elisha had Pishnayim, he had double portion, he had double the spirit of Eliyahu Hanavi. Because again, Elisha did 16, and Eliyahu did 8. So he did double the amount, and he received the thing that he wanted. And Rabbi Nachman adds over here, based on the Gemara, that everything Elisha did, he accomplished through tefillah. And we're going to come back to that point later, maybe even not tonight, but we're going to go into this in more depth right now. Okay, now we're going to jump right in more, further, for even deeper. You should know. You should know. It's possible for the student to be greater than his teacher. That he could have double of what his teacher, his Rebbe, has. But even though he's greater in a certain sense, he has double of what his Rebbe has, the only reason why he's able to accomplish that is only through his teacher, his Rebbe. And this is what it means that Elisha wanted double of what Eliyahu had. Baruchacha daika, his spirit, I'm going to use the English Hebrew, but Baruchacha, his ruach, his spirit specifically. That specifically through the ruach of the spirit of Eliyahu, Elisha was able to get both. Means that Elisha became greater, but it was only through the spirit of Eliyahu. Because we know that there is such a thing that the tzaddik has two spirits, two ruachs, a ruach la'ela, a ruach above, and a ruach delasata, and a ruach below. Kemosha Kosov, like we find in the Torah, it says, Ela told us Noach, right? It says, these are the offspring of Noach. It says his name double. Noach la'ela, it's referring to Noach's ruach de la'ela, his ruach, his spirit above, Noach de lasata, means the double language of Noach is to refer to both the ruachs. Kemosha Kosov sham bezohar, like it says over there in the Zohar, Noach al pasuk ze ayin sham betosefta, right? Look over there into the Tosefta, and this is the lashon of the Zohar to paraphrase it. Lama Noach trezimne. Why does it say Noach's name twice? Ela kol tzaddik v'tzaddik dai ba'almas de islay trei ruchan. Because every tzaddik, it's enough that in this world he has two ruachs, two spirits. Ruach chad ba'alma dein, one ruach in the world to come. V'ruach chad ba'alma da'asi, right? One ruach in this world, in the world of judgment. V'ruach chad ba'alma da'asi, and one ruach, one spirit in the world to come. And this is what we find by all the tzaddikim. That every tzaddik has a life force generated from above, and every tzaddik has a life force generated from below. And the ruach that's generated from above, that is great. That is very, very great. That's the greater part of it. So just to recap what we're saying right now, right? That every tzaddik has two spirits, two ruachs. They have a ruach de la'ela and a ruach de lasata, a spirit from above and a spirit from below. And this is what it says by Noach. Why does it say Noach twice? It says Noach twice because it's reference to Noach's ruach de la'ela and Noach's ruach de lasata. And this is something that we find by many of the tzaddikim. The Torah says Avraham, right? Avraham. Why? Because it's referring to Avraham's spirit above and Avraham's spirit below. We find also by Shmuel Hanavi, when he's by Eliyahu Cohen, it says Shmuel, right? We find that Shmuel had a spirit above. We find that Shmuel had a spirit below, right? So he's setting a precedent over here, and we're going to explain this even further. Right, that every tzaddik has this ruach above and ruach below, ruach de'ela, ruach de'sata, and it's important to note here that the ruach de'ela, his life force from above, his life force that he's getting sustained from above, that in many ways is more powerful and potent than the ruach de'lasata. Clear so far? Clear. Back inside. We're going to take a little bit of a detour, but this is all going to merge together in the end. Okay. And the students, the Talmidim, are one. They share one root, or they're one root with the tzaddik. Rak shehem tloyim bo ka'anafim be'ilan. Right? The students are dependent on the tzaddik like branches and a tree, right? She'ilan yonek chiyuso misharsho, because the branches of a tree, they get its life force from its root. The anafim yonkin achias derech ilan, right? And it goes up the bark, it goes from the roots up the barks to the branches to the leaves. Ve'yesh bezet kama bechinas, right? And there's many aspects of this. Ki yesh talmidim shehem bechinas anafim. There are students that are like the branches. Ve'yesh shehem bechinas alim. But there are also students that are like the leaves. V'chein shari bechinas. And many different aspects of this. Ubeshasa stalchut tzaddik. And at the time when the tzaddik leaves this world, azayu masik harbe yoser mimashe hisig b'chayim. At the moment of when he leaves is his moment of clarity. And we're going to see why it is that way, right? At the time of his stalkus, when the tzaddik leaves this world, that's when he's able to perceive more at that very moment than he was his entire lifetime. Kol echad lefi madrigaso, everyone on their own level. K'moshe matzinu b'Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. It's coming full circle, right? And this is what we see by the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, be'idrik u'berabbeinu hakadosh, that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai in his last day, in the last section of the Zohar, which is called the Idra, right? And we also find by Rabbeinu hakadosh, Rabbi Yudah Nasi, u'b'tzar tzadikim, that the moment the tzaddik dies, at that moment was taken from the world. At that time, he's able to perceive the highest perceptions more than he was in his entire life. What we find by Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and Lag BaOmer, which is coming up, right? And Rabbi Nachman setting this preference over here. He's teaching us that just like a tree has a root, a bark, and branches, right? So too a person who's connected to the tzaddik, and obviously there are many different levels of this. Right? You could be connected to the tree through its leaves, or you could be connected to the roots, which gets from the roots, right? Or you could be connected to the tree itself, or to stronger branches, weaker branches. And so too, a person who's connected to the tzaddik, they are even more connected. They receive more vitality from the tzaddik. They receive more encouragement, more strength, and more of the ruach of that tzaddik, as we're going to be learning about as we continue learning. And what we find is that when a tzaddik passes away, so those who are connected to him, like a tree, its branches and its leaves and its roots, right? So the closer you are, the more of the ruach of that tzaddik that a person gets. So every person who's connected to a tzaddik, they receive vitality, chiyas, and life force from the tzaddik himself. So if you're learning this year, if you're part of this year, you're already connected to the tzaddik. And if you learn Shulchan Aruch, you're connected to other tzaddikim. And if you follow the Torah, you're connected to the Tzaddik Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophets of all prophets, the greatest Navi of all time. So certainly we receive our vitality through Moshe Rabbeinu and the Torah. That's why it's called Torah's Moshe. So every person has this ability to connect to the Tzaddik. And certainly the more connected you are to the Tzaddik, just like the closer you are to the root of the tree, the more vitality and stronger you become. So too, the more a person's connected to that tzaddik, the more vitality, the more energy that they receive. Now we're going to explain how that works and why that is that at the time of a stalkus of a tzaddik, what takes place that allows a person to that tzaddik to perceive more at that moment than that they were ever able to receive in their entire life, and how that works. And that's going to shed tremendous light on the story that we learned in Lag BaOmer and the whole inyan of the yortzeit of a tzaddik and his kashrus connecting to a tzaddik as well. Okay. Vida, and you should know. Shezehu al yidei shebeshas hastalkus. The reason for this is because at the time that the tzaddik is removed, I'm just going to use the word histalkus, but everyone should be comfortable with that word, that it means removed, right? To be mistalek means to remove. So at the time of histalkus, at the time when the tzaddik is removed from this world, azay yored uba lemata bechinas ruach ve'achilas de le'ela. At that moment in time, his ruach, his spirit above, his life force that's above, comes down. ואז נסחבקין ונסאחתין יחד הרוח דלסata עם הרוח דלעילה. Then it becomes one. It unifies. His ruach dela'ila and his ruach delasata now become one because the ruach dela'ila now comes down to this earth. Ki be'emes shneim echad, because the truth is they're one. V'teichad kishnesgalin zelazeh, and when they merge and become one and reunite with one each other and they reveal themselves to one another, nisachtin me'od be'achdas gadol. It creates a tremendous power and unification. And because the Ruach De'Le'ela, the spirit above, a person's life force from above, is so beyond this world, it can't really tolerate this world. Because by its nature itself, the Ruach De'Le'ela, a spirit above, can't tolerate and be burdened by this world at all. Therefore, it's always above. And through this, the Ruach De'Le'ela comes down and it blows out the person's neshama from their body. Let's just explain that. That the Ruach De'Le'ela and the Ruach De'Lasata, the Ruach De'Le'ela is the larger, more powerful and pointed point, and by definition, by nature, it can't tolerate this world. So at the time of this stalkus of a tzaddik, the Ruach De'Le'ela now comes all the way down, and it merges with the Ruach De'Lasata. And because the Ruach De'Le'ela and the Ruach De'Lasata are essentially one thing, and the Ruach De'Le'ela is so large it can't be tolerated by this world at all, it comes down and it blows out the tzaddik's neshama, because there's a unification of the Ruach De'Le'ela and the Ruach De'Lasata, and it blows out the tzaddik's neshama, and therefore the tzaddik is nostalgic from this world. He completely leaves this world. Okay. The Al-Kain who davar gadol. The Al-Kain, therefore. Al-Kain who davar gadol me'od liyos b'shas stalkus tzaddik. Therefore, it's a very, very big thing to be there when the time a tzaddik leaves this world. Afilu misha eno talmud. Even if you're not a student, you're not a leaf, you're not a branch, but even just to be there present. Right. So I love this. Rabbi Nachman, like, okay, it's good in concept. Now he explains the practical application of it, right? Because at that moment in time, it gets revealed the spirit from above. So a huge, tremendous light comes down at that moment in time. The Al-Kain who tova gedola l'chol mi shenimsa az sham. Therefore, it's a great, amazing benefit, a great thing, whoever is present at that moment. V'hu tova lahem la'arichas yamim, and it's an eternal reward for them. K'moshe amru Rabbeinu Zechrono Livracha, al pasuk v'hi od lenetzach, like Chazal say on the verse that he'll be alive forever. Ki yireh chachamim yamusu, that a person who sees chachamim die. Aval hatalmidim, but for the students, magia ha'ara gedola ma'od az b'yoser. For the students, so even though it's good for anyone to be around when the tzaddik passes away, for the students who's connected more, it's even better. Because they become dependent on the tzaddik and they receive their yonek, they nurse themselves from one root. Nimsa, shezeh achiyos de la'ela. So it comes out, shezeh achiyos de la'ela hu chiyusam mamish. So it comes out that the Ruach De'Le'ela that comes down, because they're already united with the tzaddik, it's as if part of their Ruach themselves, it's as if part of the students' Ruach themselves comes down, and they get a tremendous elevation from this. They become one and they join with one another. Now there's a tremendous unification that comes. Because the Ruach of the tzaddik is also their Ruach. Through this, therefore, anyone who's there at the time when the tzaddik passes away, and even more so the students, like Elisha Hanavi and Eliyahu, because Eliyahu's ruach spirit is Elisha's spirit is dependent on Eliyahu's spirit. So when that comes down, it's as if Elisha is getting from his spirit in a way that he wouldn't normally be able to handle it. He gets double the portion. Because any tzaddik that comes their time to leave this world, it becomes one and unified with its spirit above. But the students who their time to leave this world didn't come, it's like subterfuge, right? The students who their time didn't come, they're still able to get from the Ruach de La'ila without leaving this world, right? Azai Adarabba, then the opposite, Nishar Eitzlam a Ruach de La'ila. So then the Ruach de La'ila remains with them. From the oneness of the unification of the Ruach de La'ila, the Ruach de L'Sata. Because it's impossible to separate. Nimsa. That the tzaddik, that the tzaddik leaves this world through this process. That the tzaddik actually draws upon himself the ruach de la'ila, the spirit above, with the spirit below. And the students, they get double from this. Because the remnant of the Ruach de La'ila remains below for them. Because it became one with the Ruach de L'Sata. Okay, I know that was a mouthful to read, but this is awesome. So we're just going to recap over here and just explain this outside and fit this back into the story. So when the tzaddik dies, again, the Ruach de La'ila, the spirit above, comes and emerges with the Ruach de L'Sata, the spirit below. The Ruach de La'ila is so advanced, it's so large, it's so powerful, that inadvertently blows out the tzaddik's neshama and he leaves this world. But so anyone who's there at that time, when a tzaddik passes away, because there's this amazing light, there's this amazing perception, there's this amazing understanding of clarity that comes into the world at that time, anyone who's there, not even a student, anyone who's there benefits from that light that comes down from the tzaddik at that moment in time. But if you're connected to the tzaddik, right? If you're connected to the tzaddik, there's a little trick that happens. It's obviously even better. Why? Because just like a tree has many parts to it, and it gets its chiyus, it gets its life force, and it gets its nutrients and vitamins from different parts from the roots. So to a person who is dependent on the tzaddik and went to the tzaddik for advice and tried to follow their eitzas and listen to their perceptions and tried doing connecting, being mitkasher and seeking out understanding and understanding life through the tzaddik's understanding, right? So a person who does that, they were able to, they get more chiyus from it. So their mamish comes out that if the bark of the tree, right, is connected to the root of the tree, it's almost one with the root of the tree. So when the tzaddik, normally a student, a regular person, a student of the tzaddik, their ruach de la'ila only comes down when they die, right? That a person's only unification of the spirit above and spirit below when a person dies. But because the person's almost connected to the tzaddik, so their ruach, the tzaddik's ruach de la'ila is so big in a way, right? That's how I visualize it. Like it's so big in a way, it incorporates and encompasses and encapsulates the student's ruach also. So when the tzaddik's ruach spirit comes down, the student is also receiving his own ruach that wouldn't normally come down if he weren't dependent on the tzaddik, right? It's like this subterfuge type of thing, like this harama, this trick that the person gets his ruach de la'ila without actually dying. And how does he get it? He gets it through the tzaddik because he was connected to the tzaddik. So the tzaddik's ruach de la'ila comes down. So now he gets part of his own ruach de la'ila, part of his own advanced spirit that he wouldn't normally, that he would only get when he dies. So since he's depending on the tzaddik, now he gets his own ruach de la'ila, which is double portion of what he would normally be able to tolerate and handle in his life because he's connected to the tzaddik, right? So this is like So this is like amazing. So now we can understand the back and forth between Elisha Hanavi and Eliyahu Hanavi. Okay, now let's just plug all this back in, right? So everyone knew Eliyahu was going to die, right? And Eliyahu was going on a tiyul, a shmooze in the middle of the Yarden. Sure, we split the Yarden. We're gonna go for a walk. We're gonna have a light chit chat. What's this chit chat? He says, "No, you're gonna ask me something," meaning to say, Eliyahu was gonna draw his ruach de'le'ela down, and Eliyahu Hanavi knew at the time of the death of a tzaddik, certainly like someone as great as Eliyahu Hanavi, there's gonna be this tremendous light that comes down, and at that point, you'll be able to have significantly more than what you want, than you're able to accomplish in your own life, and get significantly more light, more perceptions, more understanding. So what does Eliyahu say? What does Elisha say? He goes, I got it. I want pishnayim. I want double. Right? They're speaking in code over here, speaking in riddles. I want double. I want pishnayim ruchacha elai. I want double more than what you could give. Right? Meanwhile, the whole time, even before, Eliyahu saying, nah, don't follow me, don't come, don't come. Elisha's like, I know what's going to happen. I want the big bucks. I'm following you all the way, right? No, don't come with me to Beis El, don't come with me to Yericho, don't come with me to Yardi, don't come with me to Gilgal, right? Eliyahu's trying to get rid of him, right? And Eliyahu says, okay, now that you're with me, what do you want? Elisha's like, yeah, we're going to cash in, right? Give me the big bucks. I want pishnayim. So Eliyahu says back, oh yeah, you think I could just give you pishnayim? It's not how it works. It's a hard thing. If I only have 100, I can't give you double. Can't give you more than what I have, right? So what does Eliyahu tell him? He says, if you're there at the time of my histalkus, if you're there and you, at the time when my ruach de'le'ela merges together with my ruach de'lesata, then you'll get double. Because since you're dependent in me and in my ruach, your ruach will also come down. And now you'll be able to have double than what you're ordinarily able to have. But if you're not, it's only at the time of histalkus when the ruach de'le'ela merges together with the ruach de'lesata. So what happens? Elisha says, deal. Elisha says, deal. Right? This is incredible. They were speaking these deep riddles, right? So what happens? All of a sudden, a chariot comes down from Shemayim, right? Like we just read. Eliyahu's cloak, right? He goes up. Elisha tears Kriya. He starts saying, Avi, Rechav Yisrael, right? Father, the chariot of Israel, right? What's going to be? Picks up Eliyahu's cloak and splits the sea. He does double the amount of miracles Eliyahu was able to do. Only through the koach Eliyahu, the student become greater. So at the time of the histalkus of a tzaddik, at the time on Lag BaOmer, when Rabbi Shimon is in the world, right? Rabbi Shimon's light is coming down into the world. At the time of any tzaddik's yortzeit, Rav Shaya's Mekaristier's yortzeit today, a person's able to receive double of what they're ordinarily able to receive. Because a person thinks when they reach the world of truth, when they reach Olam Haba, the world to come, a person thinks that it's static. Now you reach a level and that's it. But that's not really how it goes. Every year there's a judgment in Shemayim, and it's on the day of the person's death, right? That's why people have the minhag for yortzeit suda and different things to learn for the yortzeit. And the tzaddik obviously goes higher and higher and higher every year. So when he leaves one level and goes to a higher level in Shemayim, that's called histalkus. That's called leaving one place and going to another place. So Rabbi Shimon and any tzaddik on their yortzeit, on Lag BaOmer, there's a histalkus that happens in Shemayim, in the heavens, where he goes from one place to another place, to another place, to another place, as the tzaddik is always going higher in Shemayim. So the person who's a student of that tzaddik, who connects to that tzaddik, they're able to receive more ruach de'le'ela, more ruach de'le'era, more light, more perceptions, more divine flow, and more understanding that's getting sent down into this world, more Shefa Eloki, more divine flow. So this is incredible. This is incredible. This is incredible. And I want to share a story I have. It's not directly related, but it's an incredible story. I heard the story an hour ago. Okay. I had a friend of mine. His name is Rabbi Shlomi Edelstein. He lives across the street from me. And his grandmother passed away. And I want to tell you this story, okay? His grandmother was 90-something years old. She was a Holocaust survivor. He just told me the story. I told him I'm giving a class tonight. I'm going to tell over this story. His grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, okay? She was in her 90s, and she just passed away. And her parents, meaning my friend Rabbi Shlomi Edelstein's great-grandparents, this woman's, can't recall her name, her Neshama Shav Aliyah, she passed away today, and the Kvura, the burial was today. And what happened? Her parents had problems at childbirth. They had problems. They couldn't have a kid for many years. So they went to Reb Shaya from Kerestir, in Kerestir, her parents, they went to Reb Shaya from Kerestir to get a bracha, a blessing that they should have children. And Reb Shaya gave them a blessing that they should have a child. And this woman was the product of that blessing, of that bracha from Reb Shaya from Kerestir. She passed away today on the Tzaddik's yortzeit. On Reb Shaya's yortzeit, she passed away. 90-something years later, she passed away on the day of the Tzaddik. Right? It's incredible. He told me the story. I got goosebumps. I'm like, oh my God, I have to spread this story to everyone. This is an amazing story, A mitzvah to be enforcing this story. That a person who's connected to the Tzaddik, that their life force, just like a tree. Now, I don't know if she had anything to do with him after that, but obviously there are many levels of being connected. And it was the Tzaddik's, through the Tzaddik's bounty, the Tzaddik's bracha, that brought her into this world. And any day of year, she could have passed away. She could have passed away yesterday. She could have passed away a week ago. She could pass away tonight, which is technically not the yortzeit anymore, right? She passed away on the day of the Tzaddik's yortzeit, who brought her into this world. That every day on the yortzeit of the Tzaddik goes higher and higher and higher and higher. So it's not just a one-time thing. It's not just a one-time thing. And with that, everyone, I wish you, we're going to continue more in this theme next week, learning deeper about this. But with that, everyone, I wish you a good Shabbos, and we should be zocheh to connect to the great tzaddikim in our tradition, like Moshe Rabbeinu, like the Beis Yosef, like Ramah, anyone who follows Shulchan Aruch, like Rabbi Nachman, like Reb Shaya from Kerestir, like all the Baal Shem Tov, the Vilna Gaon, all the great tzaddikim of all time. I know we have someone over here who likes Rav Avigdor Miller, right? That's for you, Eli. And all the great tzaddikim of all time, we should be zocheh to connect with them and connect to them like the roots of a tree, connect to the roots, and always constantly, as the tzaddikim are going higher and higher in Shemayim, that we should constantly connect to them, receive more encouragement, more strength, more insight, and more avodah. That, everyone, I wish you good Shabbos.
Shaya.
Yeah, Shaya.
Yeah.
Reb